Chapter 10, Cardiovascular, Immune, Lymphatic Systems, and Blood. In the first part of this chapter, we're going to pronounce terms relating to organs and anatomical structures and define and spell word parts. The major structures in the cardiovascular system include the heart, blood vessels, which consist of the arteries, capillaries, and veins, but we're also going to look at some components of those parts as well. Looking at just the function of the cardiovascular system, the right side of the heart is responsible for pumping blood to the lungs. The left side pumps the blood to the rest of the body. And then the other function of the cardiovascular system is to regulate temperature. Looking at a cross-section of the heart, to pick just one structure or component of the heart and say that is the most or one of the most significant parts really is really difficult to do because they're all key and important differences and important functions within the heart. But we'll look at a few parts here. We have the left atrium. We would also have the right atrium. Then we have the left ventricle and the right ventricle. Those are the four chambers. Then we also look at other structures, and these are relating really a lot to some of the abnormal functioning sometimes of the heart. That would include the aortic valve, the mitral valve, and then the tricuspid valve. Those are all key components. And then we look at just the endocardium, which is the inside layer of the heart, the myocardium, which is the muscle layer of the heart, and then the pericardium, which is the outside layer of the heart. What we see here is really the vascular flow outside of the heart. The heart pumps the blood through the arteries, and if you watch the arrows are going to take the blood flow in this direction down into the arterioles, which is where it branches off of the larger structure, and then from the arterioles down to the capillaries, which are the most minute of all. From the capillaries, there's an exchange here. And then blood flow will go back from the capillaries into venules, and from the venules it will travel back upward towards the heart in the vein structures. When we look at what the blood is composed of, we have what's termed the formed elements of the blood, which are the blood cells that are about 45% of the blood. This includes the erythrocytes or red cells, the leukocytes or white cells, and then the thrombocytes, which we also see very commonly referred to as the platelets. And then the other part outside of the formed elements is the plasma or the liquid part, and that is going to be about 50% of the composition of the blood. And looking at circulation, we also have to consider the lymphatic system. The lymph is transported through the body in its own circuit system as well as the blood components are. In the lymph system, the major structure is going to be the lymphatic vessels, the lymph nodes, and then as organ structures would be the spleen and the thymus. The lymphatic system functions in the body in three primary ways. One, by cleansing, also by returning and defending. Taking just the defending feature of the immune system function, there are three lines of defense. The first would be preventing a foreign agent from entering the body in the first place, and this is keeping the skin from being broken and mucous membranes from being damaged and that kind of thing. The second line of defense would be the use of inflammation and fever, plus phagocytosis, which is destruction of engulfing and destroying of the foreign part, and then all of the other immune system responses with that. And then the third line of that defense would be protecting against specific types of pathogens. In this case, it would be probably some of our more severe viral type problems or diseases. Examples of combining forms that we see in this chapter include cardio, which means heart, lymphadeno, which means lymph node, myo, we've had that previously, but that's muscle, myelo means bone marrow, and phlebo means vein. Examples of combining forms in any of these systems in this chapter. Athero refers to yellowish or fatty plaque, which is sometimes the material that can build up in arteries. Embolo, it means plug. Ischio means deficiency or blockage. And thrombo means blood clot. And again, we see some prefixes here that we have seen previously, but Brady means slow. Pan means all or total. And tachy means rapid or fast. Suffix examples. Apheresis is removal. Centesis we've had before, but it is surgical puncture to aspirate fluid. Megaly means enlargement. Sclerosis means hardening. And stasis means control, standing, or stop. In the next part of the chapter, we're going to look at the definition, pronunciation, and spelling of just the cardiovascular system terms. Now let's look at some terms that are built from word parts. First we'll look at is atherosclerosis. We said before that athero means that fatty plaque or fatty buildup, and then sclerosis as a suffix means hardening. So this is hardening a fatty plaque, and it refers to that plaque that gets deposited in the vessel walls and begins to basically close off the vessel. Bradycardia, uh, we know the IA refers to condition. Brady says it's slow, and cardi means heart, so this is a condition of a slow heart, and this is reference to the heart rate of the patient. Generally, it's typically below 60 beats per minute in this case. Cardiomyopathy, um, pathy means disease. Cardio, of course, means heart, and then myo means muscles. This is a disease of the heart muscle. Ischemia, we know the emia refers to a deficiency in blood, and the ischemia then it refers to a deficiency in blood flow caused by an obstruction, which is going to be your ischemia part. Okay, and thrombophlebitis, thrombophlebitis is inflammation is the itis, and thrombo tells us it is a blood clot, and then phlebi tells us it is a vein. So this is inflammation of a vein in association with a blood clot. And next we have some surgical terms built from word parts. Angioplasty. We know plasty means surgical repair, and angio means blood vessels, so this is a surgical repair of a blood vessel. Embolectomy. Ectomy means excision, and embolo means plug. In this case, it's excision of plug, and it's referring to basically a clot that quite often forms in a vessel. Endarterectomy is excision again, and then within is endo, and arterio is artery. So this is excision within the artery, and a lot of times when you see this, you will also see another term prior to that that will indicate which artery is involved in this endarterectomy, which is basically cleaning out the artery and removing the plaque from the walls. One of the more common ones you see here is carotid endarterectomy, which of course carotids are those large vessels in the neck, and that's one of the more common that will get starting to get blocked. Pericardiocentesis In this case, synthesis means surgical puncture to aspirate fluid. And of course, we're aspirating fluid, we're going to aspirate it from a specific location. So peri refers to around or surrounding, and then cardio refers to the heart. So this is a surgical puncture to aspirate fluid, and this is from the sac around the heart. Valvuloplasty. Plasty is surgical repair, and valvulo is valve. So this is surgical repair of a valve, which is typically a heart valve or a valve in a vein.